cultural values are impacting how they operate. And there's been a stakeholder-centric. We want to maintain healthy employment, preserve wages and benefits, and discourage hostile interactions among firms. So the idea is that there's a great emphasis on saving face and proper procedure and going through the motions. And sometimes American managers who go to Japan to manage American subsidiaries in Japan kind of have a problem because their behavior, which is much more direct, is not acceptable in the Japanese side. And here you have large boards which can't easily make radical or quick changing decisions or direction, but really focused on going along in the direction that has been set in based on consensus, mainly executive directors, mainly the executive on the board. But here I have another one. This one is more stakeholder focused. But it's not just dual two-tiered boards, but here you're having relationships between companies at various levels, including board level and ownership level. South Korea. Similar to the Japanese model, affiliated companies operate on strategic and financial guidance of headquarters. Efficiencies brought to light by the Asian financial crisis of 1997. Low profitability, big debts, shielded from discipline and force of capital markets. In other words, the information wasn't that transparent. And they have attempted to reform the system. But this is definitely a stakeholder focused model. We move on. China, interesting. You have a centralized government, which has a traditional socialist mantra linked to increasing the capitalist economic system. Government continues to be a primary owner. Protects societal concerns. They have two-tiered boards. Boards of directors, executives, and boards of supervisors, a board of supervisors, which is 33% employee representation. And individual shareholders are minority owners, which is voting power. You have a lot of involvement in foreign investment in China, but most of the countries still domestic or their own government or otherwise a system onto it. Crafted a capitalist system with a centralized communist government. Whether Mao Zedong would recognize his government is a good question, but it's definitely not as transparent or as open democracy with multi-party, how should I say, running, multi-party elections as in the US or in Jamaica or in Europe. India. I haven't come across as much information on India. I'm sure there's a lot there. Here you have some mixed choice. India has had since independence, has a traditional democracy. Majority of non-executives on the board, so it's more non-executives, outsiders. If chairman is not executive, 33% of the board must be independent. If it is executive, 50%. So there's basically a checks and balance. If you have a non-executive chairman, you can have less independent directors, but if you have an executive chairman, it must be balanced by more independent directors. Board must meet at least 4 times a year. Cannot be a member of more than 10 committees across all companies. In other words, you could not have concentration at the board level in terms of committee membership. Independent financial literate audit committee, very important. Extensive disclosure of related party transactions. and challenges to reform underdeveloped capital markets and continued dominance of family-controlled business groups. So basically there is enough dominance so that basically dominant business groups will push their influence with the main ones in terms of making decisions. Brazil, governments characterized by weak protection. Excessive influence by insiders, low levels of disclosure. The regulation of capital markets driving reforms. 3 different markets. We have 2 now. From the Novo Mercado to Nivel 1. Maybe we know about some of this. Please enlighten me, because I'm not that au fait on Brazil. To list on a Novo Mercado company must have equal voting rights, that is, all shares must have the same voting rights, 20% independent directors, and financial reporting prepared according to the GAAP or IFRS, or some sort of international standard. You sort of, you want to say, the blue chip type company. Russia, weak governance systems. Since the demise of communism, Russia has developed a reputation, probably a little extreme, maybe how should I say, not necessarily accurate, of being a fairly cowboy type economy. But it's true, controlled by insiders, concentrated ownership, very weak legal protections, lack of disclosure, a heavy involvement, directly or indirectly by the government. And for the bottom one there, government has tended to intervene in business to promote its own interests. Okay. Controlling shareholders, the second bullet, controlling shareholders use influence to gain advantages. Manipulation of transfer pricing to siphon money. So they have company on the outside, they might charge higher prices for their own company, 100% own company outside, yes, more of the profit as opposed to the company, buying company at only gets, let's say, 50 or 40%. And often minority interests are treated very harshly. Again, this system is a result of the rapid and fairly anarchic breakup of the Soviet Union. And in the rise of that centralized control, government control system, really, there was not a new sort of governance system imposed quickly, and basically an anarchic cowboy type business culture developed, which is now under pressure to be reformed. On this last slide, this is an interesting one because we have the issue of globalization. And the big question has been, will globalization result in governance systems becoming more standardized or similar worldwide, or will they continue to be different? And that's the moot question. Time will tell. But we know governance systems vary greatly around the world. But former and closed economies face the pressure of globalization. We've gone through that in the last 40, 35 years. Manifested to me most clearly in the change in the foreign exchange market. 35 years ago, you had to get permission to take out travel more than $56 a year. Now, you can move any amount of money in and out that way. Trend toward international standards of government, and let's say I would change that and say it's trend towards some international standards of governance, but I'd like a standard system will work well in our countries. In other words, you want to have certain things that are, how should I say, standardized and fairly certain across a number of countries or across the world, but at the same time, societal and cultural values will make the differences. And then that's probably the last bullet is the issue of that faces all of the questions of globalization. When you adapt to international standards, your international perspective, while staying true to your local, national, societal, and cultural values. Big question. How much change can you have? Change of what you think is important to change while keeping the rest, or do you find you're going to change and take some good, but also some bad? I don't know how do you proceed now? I'll finish with this. Do you have any questions or any points you want to make? What do you usually do? Take a break at some stage? Somebody help me out with some advice. No, you don't usually take a break. No break. Okay? Now, this is what I was planning, to go through a second set of slides on a second set about a board. Start looking at the issues with board. What do you want to do? Is that what you want us to proceed? Is that okay with you, or you have other thoughts? Okay, proceed. Please come back with us. Good. Okay, Tracy, you're here with us. Alright. So I'm going to stop this one. Okay. Any questions? No? All right? Well, let me tell you, I put on the website another category. I created another little category called the Companies Act of Jamaica. And I put two things. I put a little summary, a little note, summary, rough guide, I think they call it, is a letter, summary of the main provisions of the Companies Act, done by, I think, one of the auditing firms. And then secondly, I put a comparison of the old Companies Act and the new one. That is before the one that's in place. That was created when they had the transition. So have a look at it. And I think it's important to understand what are the requirements of the internal Jamaican context in terms of boards of directors and so forth. Can everybody see this one? Boards of directors, duties and liabilities. Somebody just give me some heads up. Okay? Okay, so let's begin. Anybody can't see it?